The red rift was quiet. It stretched across space like a scar, filled with the wreckage of dead ships, broken moons, and drifting metal. Lightning storms sparked through the fog of radiation, casting flashes of red and blue across the void. No one came here unless they had to. Most who entered never came back. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the Valiant Dawn, his eyes fixed on the swirling rift through the ship's main viewport. His hands were behind his back, his stance calm and steady. Around him, his crew worked quietly, each person focused on their task. The Valiant Dawn was a powerful warship. Its outer hull was reinforced with thick armor plating, designed to survive direct hits. It carried high-energy cannons, missile arrays, and next-gen shielding tech. But even with all that, Walker knew the rift was dangerous. It wasn't just the environment. It was what might come through. Walker was a quiet man. He didn't talk unless he needed to. His dark uniform was neat, clean, and marked only by a single gold eagle on the shoulder. He didn't wear medals, and he didn't ask for praise. But every person on his crew trusted him. He had earned that trust in battle. He had seen more war than most, and he had lost more than most. Years ago, his wife and daughter were killed in a Zarketh attack. Their transport ship was torn apart before help could arrive. Since then, Walker had made one promise to protect others from the same fate. That was why he was here. That was why he was always ready. A soft beat broke the silence on the bridge. Lieutenant Arya, the communications officer, looked up from her station. Captain, incoming message. Earth Command. It's marked urgent. Put it through, Walker said. A glowing blue hologram appeared in front of him, showing the face of Admiral Sloan. The Admiral's eyes were tired, his voice sharp. Walker, we've got a situation. Long-range sensors just picked up multiple warp signatures. Zarketh fleet. They're entering the Red Rift right now. Walker didn't move. How many? Over 200 ships. And one more thing. Sloan said. It's confirmed. Overlord Zernak is leading the charge himself. The bridge went still. Even the quiet hum of systems seemed to fade. Overlord Zernak, the most feared name in the galaxy. Ruthless, cold, known for wiping out entire planets. If he was here, it wasn't just an attack. It was an invasion. You're the closest fleet we've got. Sloan continued. We're sending reinforcements, but they'll take time. For now, your orders are clear. Hold the line. Do not let them through. Walker gave a single nod. Understood. The hologram faded. He turned to his crew. Raise battle stations. Alert the fleet. Aye, Captain. Voices echoed across the bridge. Red lights began to flash. Sirens rang through the ship. Crew members ran to stations, checked systems, and locked into their positions. Outside, other human ships began to move into formation, building a defensive wall near the edge of the rift. Walker stepped up to the command console and opened a fleet-wide channel. This is Captain Walker of the Valiant Dawn, he said, his voice steady. Zarketh forces are coming through the rift. You all know what they've done before. You know what they'll do if they reach Earth. He looked around at the faces of his crew. Brave, young. Some were veterans, some were fresh, but all of them were ready. They think we'll run, he continued. They think we'll break. But we won't. We are Earth's shield. We hold the line, no matter what. Outside the viewport, red flashes appeared in the dark. Dozens of glowing lights blinked into view. Zarketh ships. And more were coming. The war had reached the rift. Red lights flashed across the bridge of the Valiant Dawn. The hum of engines grew louder as the ship moved into battle position. Outside, the stars seemed to flicker and vanish as black triangular warships entered the rift one by one. The Zarketh had arrived. Enemy fleet count rising, said Arya, eyes locked on her screen. 70 ships now, 85, still climbing. Walker didn't blink. Status on our fleet, Lieutenant Grant, the tactical officer responded. 73 ships are in formation. Heavy cruisers at the front, frigates holding the flanks. Fighters ready to launch. Walker gave a sharp nod. Good. Hold formation. Do not fire until I give the order. The Zarkith ships were unlike anything humans had built. Their hulls looked like living metal, black, spiked and pulsing with red energy. They didn't fly in straight lines. They weaved through space like predators, silent and deadly. At the center of their force was a massive vessel, twice the size of any other. Flagship identified, Grant said quietly. It's him, Overlord Zernak. The name sent a chill through the room. Zernak was known across the galaxy for turning cities into ashes. He never retreated, never showed mercy. He didn't just want to win. He wanted to erase. Open a secure line to Earth Command, Walker said. Arya pressed a few buttons. Line open, sir. This is Captain Walker, he said. Enemy fleet confirmed. 200+ vessels. Overlord Zernak leading. We are holding position and preparing to engage. Admiral Sloane's voice crackled through. Understood, Captain. Reinforcements are on the way, but they're still hours out. You're on your own for now. Walker's voice didn't change. Copy that. We'll do what we must. The connection ended. He turned to the crew. Battle stations, he said. Across the ship, hatches closed. Shields went up. Weapons charged. Fighter bays opened and small, fast ships began launching from the sides of the Valiant Dawn, forming swarms around the fleet. Then it began. Without warning, the Zarkith opened fire. Red plasma beams shot from their ships, cutting through the darkness. 2 human frigates were hit instantly. One exploded. The other spun out of control. Engines on fire. Shields holding. Grant shouted. Return fire. Walker ordered. Human ships responded. Bright blue lasers, missiles and kinetic blasts filled space. Fighters darted between larger ships, dodging beams and launching counterattacks. The bridge shook. Portside hit. Yelled an officer. Minor damage. Shields at 73%. Walker watched the battlefield unfold on the large screen in front of him. He spoke calmly, giving short, precise commands. Clean up the rear units. Support the left flank. Focus fire on that destroyer near our center. Target its engines. Keep fighter groups away from the flagship, too risky. He moved like a chess master, staying 3 moves ahead. But the Zarkith kept coming. Their ships didn't stop or retreat. Every time one was destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. We can't hold this line forever, Grant said under his breath. Walker didn't respond. His eyes were on the screen. A wave of enemy ships was circling to flank the right side. Redirect cruisers Templar and Firethorn to intercept the flank, he said. Have the Hammerclaw move forward. Draw enemy fire. Roger that, Grant replied. The tactic worked. The enemy flank was slowed, giving the rest of the human fleet time to adjust. But it came at a cost. The Hammerclaw was hit with 3 plasma blasts in a row. It broke apart in silence, metal and flame drifting into the rift. There was no time to grieve. In the middle of the chaos, Walker kept leading. He didn't yell. He didn't panic. He moved with purpose. His crew followed every word without hesitation. Captain, Arya called out. Zernak's flagship is charging something. Massive energy spike. Looks like a long-range beam weapon. Target, Walker asked. She paused. Our ship. The screen flashed red. Brace for impact. A moment later, a massive red beam slammed into the Valiant Dawn. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered. Sparks flew from control panels. Shields down to 20%. Someone shouted. Hull holding, but we can't take another hit like that, Grant said, gripping his station. Walker stayed calm. Redirect all power to front shields. Pull back 2 kilometers. Let the flanking ships take position. The Valiant Dawn moved slowly backward, as friendly ships closed in to protect it. On the enemy side, Zernak's ship pulsed again. He's charging for another shot, Arya warned. Walker narrowed his eyes. Not this time. He looked down at his console and activated a command. All ships, this is Walker. Shift to Delta formation. Fighters, focus fire on the enemy's central array. We're not waiting to be picked off. The human fleet responded instantly. Like a machine, ships moved into new positions, forming a sharp triangle aimed at Zernak's flagship. Fighters zipped toward the giant vessel, dodging blasts and heading straight for the glowing weapon core. They reached it just in time. Dozens of small missiles hit the glowing red section of Zernak's ship. A blast rocked through it, sending sparks and fragments flying into space. The flagship didn't fire again. Cheers erupted on the bridge. But Walker raised his hand. Focus, this fight isn't over. Outside, the rest of the Zarketh fleet was still advancing. More ships were entering the rift by the minute. The humans had scored a blow, but the real test was still coming. Walker looked at the dark screen, the sea of enemy ships pushing forward. "They're not here to scare us," he said quietly. "They're here to wipe us out." Smoke rose from cracked panels across the bridge of the Valiant Dawn. Sparks popped from damaged wires, and the floor vibrated beneath the crew's boots. The ship had taken heavy hits. Shields were low, systems were overworked, but it was still in the fight. "Status report," Captain Walker said calmly, standing near the main console. Lieutenant Grant wiped a smear of ash from his cheek and answered, "Shields at 19%. Hull integrity at 75. Engine room reports some overheating, but core is stable." "Casualties?" Walker asked. Arya hesitated before responding. 30 crew members injured. 4 confirmed dead. The silence that followed was heavy. Walker nodded slowly. "Get the wounded to medbay. Keep repairs going. Every second counts." Across the rift the Zarketh fleet pressed forward. They hadn't stopped. Dozens more ships had entered the zone, surrounding the human fleet from all angles. Explosions lit the darkness. Human ships were scattered, their formation breaking under pressure. The screen showed it clearly. "They're trying to split us apart," Grant said. "Divide and overwhelm." "They're succeeding," Arya added. "We've lost 5 more ships in the last 10 minutes. Walker stared at the screen, deep in thought. His hands were clenched behind his back, his jaw tight. "We need to regroup," he said. "Order the fleet to fall back and form a tight cluster near the debris field. We'll use the wreckage for cover." "Yes, Captain." As the command went out, surviving ships turned and pulled back toward the center of the rift. The remains of old battles floated there, broken metal, shattered hulls and drifting cargo. It wasn't safe, but it was something. A place to hide, to catch their breath. Inside the command room, tension hung in the air. Walker took a moment to step away from the main deck. He entered a smaller room behind the bridge, his private quarters. It was small, quiet. No lights except for the stars outside the window. He sat down and looked at a small holoframe on his desk. The image showed his wife and daughter, smiling at a beach on Mars. It was the last photo ever taken of them. He carried it everywhere. His fingers tapped the frame gently. He remembered the call he got all those years ago. The attack. The silence. The helplessness. That moment never left him. "Never again," he whispered to himself. "Not while I'm still breathing." A knock came at the door. "Come in." Lieutenant Arya entered. She stood straight, but her eyes were tired. "We've regrouped, sir. The fleet is in position. Repairs are underway. But morale is low. Everyone's thinking the same thing." "What's that?" Walker asked. "That we won't make it." Walker stood. His voice was soft but steady. "We will." Arya looked unsure. "How?" "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and Earth Command is hours away. Zernak isn't slowing down. If he breaks through." "He won't," Walker said. "Because I'm not going to let him." She nodded, but didn't look convinced. Then she left quietly. Walker returned to the bridge. The debris field glowed outside like a graveyard. Then an alert popped up on the screen. "New movement," Grant shouted. "Zarketh forces are shifting. Looks like a trap. They're herding us deeper into the rift." "They want to corner us," Arya said. "We won't be able to maneuver inside the rift's core." Walker studied the layout. The enemy had planned this. If the fleet moved any deeper, there would be no way out. They'd be surrounded, picked off one by one. Unless, his eyes lit up. A wild idea formed in his mind. "Bring up rift maps. Focus on gravitational patterns and storm tunnels," he ordered. The screen changed. A series of red storm lines swirled across the rift. Dangerous but possible. There, he pointed. That storm tunnel cuts straight behind their formation. If we use it, we can warp behind the enemy fleet and strike their flagship directly. Grant blinked. Sir, that's insane. That tunnel is unstable. No one's ever made it through. Walker looked him in the eye. No one's tried with a plan. Arya stepped forward. If we pull this off, we could hit Cernak before he even sees us coming. But if we fail, Grant said, we lose everything. Walker's voice was clear. We're already losing everything. This is our chance to take the fight to them. We can't wait. We strike first, or we die waiting. He turned to the full bridge. Prepare for a warp jump through the storm tunnel. Alert the fleet. Only the ships still able to fight should follow. The rest stay here and hold the line. Orders were sent. Crews rushed to prepare. Pilots suited up. Engineers stabilized warp drives. Walker opened a direct channel to the fleet. This is Captain Walker. You all know the situation. We've lost ships. We've lost friends. But we are not done. We are not broken. We're about to take the fight straight to the monster behind this invasion. If anyone wants to back out, now's your chance. No one answered. Not a single ship pulled back. Walker smiled faintly. Then let's show them what humans are made of. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Valiant Dawn and the strike fleet jumped into the storm. The Valiant Dawn shook as it entered the storm tunnel. Outside the ship, the red rift was no longer just dark. It was alive. Blinding flashes of blue lightning danced across swirling clouds of red and black energy. Shattered debris spun through the tunnel, thrown around by unstable gravity. It looked like space was tearing itself apart. Inside, the bridge was silent except for the low hum of engines and the voices of the crew reporting status. Shields holding at 60%, Lieutenant Grant said, eyes glued to his console. Warp stabilizers are under strain, Maria added. If we lose balance, we'll be ripped apart. Walker stood firm, gripping the railing as the ship rocked. He could feel the weight of every life on board. He had led them into this storm, and it was his job to bring them out alive. Behind the Valiant Dawn, the rest of the strike fleet followed. 12 ships. All that remained of Earth's defenders willing to risk everything for a chance to end the war. They flew in tight formation, engines glowing bright against the storm's chaos. Enemy sensors haven't picked us up, Grant reported. The storm's interference is hiding our signal. Good, Walker said. Stay on course. Suddenly, a burst of energy slammed into the Valiant Dawn. The ship jolted hard. Alarms blared. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Grav wave, shouted a technician. We're drifting off path. Correct course, Walker ordered. Now, the crew worked fast. Thrusters fired. Stabilizers engaged. The ship groaned as it fought the wave, but slowly returned to its path. Status, Walker asked. Shields down to 45%. But we're stable, Grant answered. Walker looked ahead. How much farther? 2 minutes until tunnel exit. 2 minutes in that storm felt like hours. They passed through fields of shattered satellites, chunks of destroyed Zarketh cruisers, and glowing asteroid shards. One wrong move, one system failure, and it would all be over. The crew didn't blink. They worked like one body, focused, calm, ready. Finally, Arya called out. We're approaching the exit point. Walker stepped forward. All ships prepare for combat. Enemy fleet is just beyond the tunnel. As the ship neared the end of the storm tunnel, the screen cleared. The chaos behind them faded, and open space returned. And there it was. The Zarketh fleet. From behind, the enemy ships looked like a floating city of black steel. Hundreds of warships hovered in formation, unaware of what was coming. At the center, the largest of them all, the enemy flagship pulsed with red light. It was Zernak's command vessel, a monstrous thing shaped like a spearhead, with rows of deadly weapons glowing along its surface. They haven't detected us yet, Grant whispered. Good, Walker said. They won't see us coming until it's too late. He opened the fleet-wide comm. "This is Captain Walker. We are behind the enemy. Their formation is wide, slow and overconfident. We strike fast. Target Zernak's flagship. Fighters, disable their shield emitters. Cruisers, focus all fire on the core. This is the moment. This is why we're here." The fleet responded with a burst of movement. Fighters launched from the Valiant Dawn, and the other human ships, engines flaring. They flew low and fast, diving straight toward the massive Zarketh flagship. Enemy alarms must have sounded, because the ships started to shift, but it was too late. The fighters reached the flagship's shield emitters, and launched precise focused attacks. Explosions burst along its hull. The shield shimmered, then dropped. Walker didn't wait. All ships fire. Laser beams and missiles shot through space, crashing into the flagship's exposed armor. The enemy returned fire, but their formation was slow to turn. Confusion spread. Several smaller Zarketh ships tried to cover their leader, but they were out of position. "Direct hit to the flagship's side engines," Grant called out. "Another hit near the weapons core," Arya added. "They're taking damage." Then a massive blast rocked the Valiant Dawn. The enemy had finally locked onto them. Shields at 30%. A crewman shouted. Walker gritted his teeth. "Keep firing. We finish this now." The ship charged forward, leading the strike. More human ships followed, pouring every weapon they had into the enemy flagship. A bright red glow began to form at the front of Zernak's ship. He was charging the main cannon again. "He's aiming at us," Arya said. Walker narrowed his eyes. "Fire everything we have at that cannon. Now." Dozens of weapons fired in unison. Missiles streaked forward. Blue energy beams cut across space. Explosions tore through the enemy ship's front section. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the cannon exploded. A fireball burst from the enemy's core, tearing through its structure. The massive ship began to break apart, flames and debris flying in every direction. The bridge of the Valiant Dawn shook again, but this time with the force of victory. "He's hit. Flagship is breaking apart," Grant shouted. Walker watched as the ship collapsed in on itself. He didn't speak. He didn't cheer. He just nodded once. The monster at the center of the invasion was gone. But the battle wasn't over yet. All around them, Zarketh ships were turning. Confused, scattered. Some fired wildly. Others began to flee. Walker stepped forward. "This is our chance. All ships pursue and finish them." The battlefield lit up with fire. The Zarketh flagship exploded in the distance, pieces of its hull spinning in slow motion through space. Red flames and black smoke drifted in the vacuum. The shockwave rolled across the rift like thunder in silence. Human ships held their formation, watching as the once invincible warship fell apart. Inside the Valiant Dawn, the crew stared at the main screen. "It's gone," Arya whispered. "We destroyed their flagship." But Captain Walker wasn't celebrating. His eyes were fixed on the rest of the Zarketh fleet. Hundreds of their ships were still in the fight. They weren't retreating, at least not yet. "They're disoriented," said Grant. "Some of them are pulling back, but most are waiting for new orders. They don't know what to do without Zernak," Walker said. "We can't give them time to recover." He turned to the comms panel and opened a channel to all ships. "This is Walker. The enemy has no leader, no plan. We strike now hard and fast. One final push." Human cruisers, frigates, and fighter squadrons locked onto targets. Engines roared as the fleet surged forward. The storm behind them faded into the distance. Ahead, the remaining Zarketh warships hovered in broken formation, like wolves without a pack. The Valiant Dawn led the charge. "All forward weapons, fire at will," Walker ordered. The ship lit up with blue and white beams, missiles streaking toward enemy vessels. Explosions blossomed across the rift like fireworks. Fighters weaved through the chaos, launching precise strikes on vulnerable enemy engines and weapon pods. Zarketh ships responded, but they were slower now. Confused, panicked. Their formation crumbled. They fired wildly, missing more often than they hit. Without Cernak's direction, they were just scattered pieces of a once deadly machine. Enemy cruiser destroyed, Arya called out. 2 more pulling back. Keep the pressure on, Walker said. No mercy, we end this. The battle raged at full speed. Every second counted. The Valiant Dawn took another hit. One of the Zarkith warships launched a plasma torpedo that slammed into its side. The lights dimmed, and the ship rattled, but it stayed on course. Shields at 15%, shouted Grant. Hull damage on Deck 7. Walker didn't hesitate. Divert power from secondary weapons to shields. Keep us in the fight. Fighters from the Valiant Dawn swarmed around the enemy ships, taking out stragglers. One Zarkith destroyer tried to escape, but was caught in a crossfire. It exploded before it could activate warp drive. Another enemy ship rammed into a damaged human frigate, trying to take it down in a final act of defiance. The frigate fired back point blank, and took the Zarkith ship with it. Both were lost in the flames. Walker clenched his fists. Every ship, every crew member lost. It mattered. But this was war, and war always came with a price. We're down to 30 seconds. Grant yelled. This is the final wave. Walker took a deep breath. He opened the fleet-wide channel one last time. This is your moment. Every second of this war led to now. Fight with everything you've got. For Earth, for those we lost, for the future. The remaining human ships surged ahead, forming a tight arrow formation. Missiles rained down. Beams tore through enemy shields. Explosions filled the rift. The battle lasted exactly 1 minute. When it ended, the Zarkith fleet was no more. Flames and wreckage floated across the void. Enemy ships were either destroyed or fleeing. The rift, once filled with the threat of invasion, had gone silent. On the bridge of the Valiant Dawn, a quiet calm settled. Enemy signals gone, Arya reported. They're all gone. Grant let out a slow breath. We did it. We really did it. Walker didn't speak for a moment. He looked at the main screen, at the debris, the fading flashes of battle, and the stars beyond. Then he nodded. Get damage reports. Begin rescue operations. Find survivors from the wrecks. We don't leave anyone behind. The crew moved quickly, but with a new energy. They had survived the impossible. They had defeated the strongest enemy in the galaxy. Together, Walker stepped away from the console. He looked at the hollow frame of his wife and daughter on the side wall, the same photo he kept with him always. He whispered, "We're still here." The battlefield was quiet now. The red rift, once glowing with fire and chaos, had gone still. Only the broken remains of ships drifted through the silence, metal debris from both sides, some still burning, others lifeless. The stars beyond shone dimly through the smoke. Inside the Valiant Dawn, the crew moved with quiet purpose. No cheering, no celebration, just focus. Rescue operations underway. Lieutenant Arya reported. We've recovered 83 survivors from damaged ships so far. More signals coming from escape pods. Medical bays are active, Grant added. Injuries are high but manageable. We're treating both our crew and survivors from other ships. Captain Walker stood at the center of the bridge, eyes on the screen showing the wreckage of the Zarkith fleet. His shoulders were straight, his voice steady, but inside he was tired. The kind of tired that came not from lack of sleep, but from war. How many of us are left? He asked. Grant checked the display. 17 ships remain from our original fleet. Many are damaged. Only 5 are fully operational. Walker nodded. It wasn't many, but it was enough. Any sign of retreating Zarkith ships regrouping? He asked. None, Arya replied. They're gone, scattered, no formation, no threat. The enemy had lost more than a battle. They had lost their leader, their formation, and their fearsome momentum. The invasion had ended before it could reach Earth. The Valiant Dawn slowly moved through the debris field. Smaller rescue shuttles launched from its bays, weaving through broken metal and shattered hulls to find survivors. Some pods were empty, others carried wounded, unconscious or barely breathing crew. Walker visited the med bay himself. He walked between beds, nodding to the wounded, speaking with the doctors. He didn't say much, just a hand on the shoulder or a quiet, "You did well" was enough. His presence meant more than words. In one corner, a young pilot sat with bandages on his face. He looked up at Walker and asked, "Sir, did we win?" Walker looked him in the eye. "Yes, you helped make sure of it." The pilot smiled faintly and closed his eyes. Back on the bridge, Earth Command finally responded. Admiral Sloan appeared on the hologram, his face shocked but proud. "We got your report. I don't know how you did it, Walker. But you held the rift." Walker gave a tired nod. "The fleet held it. Together. We're sending reinforcements and recovery crews now," Sloan said. "You'll be relieved soon. But make no mistake, what you did here today will be remembered." The transmission ended. Walker turned back to the viewport. The Red Rift, once a place of fear and destruction, was quiet. For the first time in years, there was peace. He opened a private channel to all ships. "This is Captain Walker. The battle is over. The enemy has fallen. Our mission is complete. We've lost much, but we've saved more. Earth stands because of your courage, your sacrifice." He paused. "Today we didn't just fight. We proved something. They thought we'd break in a minute. But in 1 minute, we broke them." Silence followed. Then soft cheers. Across the fleet, weary voices responded, not in victory, but in relief. Walker sat down in the captain's chair. For the first time in days he let himself rest. Not fully, not yet, but enough to breathe. The rift held. Earth was safe. The war was far from over. But this battle, this moment belonged to them.